Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello Miss Puji and all my friends. With me, Nada Chryzelda. I will be presenting a sociolinguistic analysis based on the article language variation, and then, of course, an analysis of language varieties used by EFL students on social media context, and written by Ambarwati Emira Putri and Nyoman Edi Jayaputra, and then also published in 20 and 24. This presentation is for my sociolinguistics course, of course, for my final exam. Yeah. Okay, for background, yeah. To begin, let's set the stage for this research. To core the context is that language is not a static system. It is a dynamic tool that constantly evolve. Especially in our current digital age. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook have become central arenas where language is actively used and modified, particularly by younger generation. This is especially true for EFL students, yeah, or English as a foreign language students, and then who use these platforms not just for social interaction, but also as a space to practice their language skills and, of course, construct their identities, yeah. And then this leads us, to the central problem the study addresses. How do EFL students in a specific Indonesian context, in this case, Sumbawa, in Sumbawa, navigate and utilize their full linguistic repertoire. This repertoire is multilingual, including their local dialect, the national language, Bahasa Indonesia, and their target language, of course, English. Yeah. Therefore, the primary aim of this study was to identify the various forms of language variation that emerge in this digital space, and to analyze the social functions and motivations behind these linguistic choices. And now we move to research methodology. The researchers employed a descriptive or qualitative method for this study. The primary data consist of written posts, specifically status and comments from EFL students on their Instagram and Facebook accounts. Data was collected through observation and documentation, which involved taking a screenshot of the relevant post. For the analysis, they used the well-established interactive model from Miles and Huberman, which involves three concurrent flows of activity: data reduction, data display, and conclusion drawing. Finally, to ensure the credibility of their findings, the data's validity was strengthened through triangulation of sources, methods, and theories, allowing for a robust and comprehensive analysis. Okay, now let's move on to the core findings. The research successfully identified 6 main categories of language variation that students creatively employ on social media. On this slide, we will cover the first 4. First, dialect. And then the study found a clear instance of students using their local Sumbawanese dialect. This wasn't just incidental. It serves a served, a specific social function to express regional identity and build solidarity and a sense of closeness with friends from the same area. And then second, colonial language. This includes the widespread use of abbreviations like Happy Day for Happy Birthday and WATB for Wish You All the Best. This practice goes beyond more typing efficiency. It acts as a group marker signaling familiarity, and share informal communication style. And then for the third, slang. The researchers note the creative use of slang terms like best Thai. Yeah, we also always say this word best Thai. Yeah, a playful variation of bestie. Yeah, and Miss Queen, like Queen Ratu. Yeah, but Miss Queen, a blend of miskin. Yeah, poor and queen. This is a powerful tool for identity construction. By using this slang, students perform their identity as members of a trendy, digitally savvy subculture. This aligns with the concept of a community of practice, where shared linguistic practices reinforce group membership. And the last one, fourth, formal and informal context. The students demonstrate a sophisticated ability to switch their language register based on the context. For example, a post announcing their candidacy for a student organization was written in formal Indonesia, while a post about a beach vacation used relaxed informal language. This shows a high level of sociolinguistic awareness. Then code and gender. Continuing with the findings, the fifth and perhaps more prominent category was code switching and code mixing. Students strategically blended multiple languages, Indonesian, English, and even Arabic, often written the same post or sentence. The article provides a clear example. For instance, code mixing was seen in a post that say everything's gonna be okay or la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, seamlessly combining English encouragement with an Arabic religious praises. An example of code switching was a user who wrote a long narrative in Indonesian and then switched to English to say thank you, trans 7, this isn't random, it's a strategic choice to convey specific social meaning. The sixth category identified was gender. Although a secondary focus, the study observes some interesting stylistic differences. Posts by male students tended to be more direct and often express frustration. For example, about poor internet connection. This aligns with what Deborah Tannen calls report talk. Language focus on information and status. In contrast, posts by female students were often more motivational and focused on relationships, such as a caption saying my best partner is them. This reflects Tannen's concept of rapport talk, language used to build connection and intimacy. This is different, rapport talk and rapport talk. Now we move to contribution to sociolinguistics. So, what is the overall contribution of this study to the field of linguistics? Firstly, it provides theory validation. It offers concrete, contemporary evidence of how classic theories like code switching and genderlex, and then manifest in the highly influential medium of social media. Secondly, it champions a bottom-up perspective. Instead of focusing only on visual language standards, the article highlights the creativity and agency of everyday speakers in shaping their own linguistic environments, reinforcing the idea and social media is hotbed for language innovation. Finally, it has significant educational implications. It suggests that for EFL learners, English is not just an academic subject but a living part of their multilingual identity. This calls for a teaching approach that values this linguistic creativity as a research rather than simply correcting is it is an error. Now I'd like to over my own critical discussion of the article, starting with it is strange. In my opinion, this study is highly relevant to our current digital era, where online identity and language practices are central to communication. Furthermore, it is specific focus on students in Sumbawa. Provides valuable data from a non-metropolitan context in Indonesia, which is often underrepresented in research. However, the article also has some potential weakness. First, as a qualitative study with a specific group, its findings have limited generalizability. The patterns observed in Sumbawa might not apply to students in Jakarta or other regions. Second, the analysis of gender is somewhat superficial. The observations are interesting, but they are based on a small number of examples. A more robust conclusions would require a much larger and more focused data set. And then finally, there is a lack quantitative data. Lack of quantitative data. The study identifies different types of language variation but doesn't provide frequency data. We don't know, for example, if slang is used more often than code switching. This quantitative dimension could have added another layer of depth to the findings. Okay, now we move to future research directions for slide 8. Building on those weaknesses, the article opens up several exciting avenues for future research. How could this study be expanded? First, through comparative study, it will be fascinating to compare these findings with those from students in a major urban center like Jakarta, or to analyze different platforms like TikTok to see how the platform's architecture influence language choices. Second, an in-depth digitally ethnography, while the study document opposed future research could include interviews with the students. This would allow us to explore their motivation directly, for instance, asking why they choose bestai over a more standard word like sahabat. For the third, one could apply critical discourse analyzing, or TDA, using a framework like Norman Fairclough. A study could investigate how these language choices, particularly the use of English, reflect or even reproduce social power structures and ideologies in Indonesia. And finally, a longitudinal study would be invaluable. It could track how these language variations evolve over several years, especially given the rapid pace of change in internet culture and slang. Now for conclusions, Of course, this research effectively demonstrates that social media is a complex linguistic ecosystem where multilingual identities are actively and creatively negotiated. Yeah. It convincingly argues that the language variation we see, such as code mixing and slang, are not deviations or errors. Instead, they are evidence of a sophisticated, communicative competence, yeah, showing how students skillfully manage their linguistic research. Ultimately, these studies serve as an excellent and timely foundation, paving the way for further research into the critical intersections of language, of course, and then technology and identity in our increasingly digital world. Yeah. Okay, Miss and guys, thank you for your attention, and then thank you for watching from my presentation. I apologize if any shortcoming from what I delivered. Yeah, and then here's the link to the original article for my references. Yeah, you can check it. Thank you very much once again. Have a great day. Have a splendid day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.